Right, so here's a conundrum for you folks. Let's see if you can work out the connection here. On the 1st of February, it was reported that the Tories were going to strip public money from water companies if they didn't stop sewage spills from happening. The next day, it was reported that water bills are going to soar by the highest they ever have in 20 years. Is there a link, perhaps? What do you think? Seems awfully coincidental, does it not? What's the crack then, Damo? Well, as I spoke about the other day, the Tory Sewage Party, dumpers extraordinaire of our watercourses as they are, since they binned EU water cleanliness regulations, have pushed back cleaning up our waterways of the sewage they've already allowed to be dumped until 2063, and set a measly target of 2038 to reduce phosphates, the mineral deposits left by human waste, by just 20%, which strip oxygen from the water and are not good for life. They've not taken the public outcry over filthy watercourses seriously. It's bitten them on the backside somewhat. The fact that every stretch of coastline, every lake and river being polluted as a result of allowing our privatised water companies to stink up the UK with effluence, strangely enough, has not proven popular vote-winning stuff. So now a bit of rowing back has happened. On the 1st of February, the Tories accepted an amendment to the new UK Infrastructure Bank Bill, the creation of a new UK bank, essentially, state-owned, in fact. I know, steady on, or at least it will be until the Tories decide it's worth enough to sell off like they do with every other public asset, presumably. The purpose of it, however, is to help the UK achieve net zero by 2050. Yet another distant date, it has said itself, and not being funny. When they set such far-off dates, it just makes you feel like it's a can being kicked down the road, a target to be missed, when none of the current lot are still MPs to be held accountable over it. Anyway, where the government previously wrote blank cheques to these water companies, a Lib Dem amendment has been accepted that unless they make active moves towards the cessation of sewage spills, try saying that 3 times fast, that limitless public money tap will get turned down. Now, of course, stripping public money from these companies will be popular, especially amongst those of you who will be thinking by now, having watched this video this far, and are saying to yourselves, why the hell are we giving them public money anyway? They're privatised. They're supposed to be self-sufficient businesses, are they not? And I would agree with all of that. Any other business that can't cover its own costs collapses. But of course, being our water supply, the government can't let it collapse. The argument to renationalise water, therefore, so money goes into the infrastructure, into the service, into making a better service, goes into cleaning up, and not to shareholders just to line their bottomless pockets, has never been stronger, really, has it? Anyway, the public purse strings might get cut to the water companies thanks to the Lib Dems. But if the government needs to step in and prevent a water company failing, do you really think they wouldn't? And do you really think the water companies don't know that? Does this amendment really hold water? Have the Lib Dems thought this through, or are they just enabling the Tories again by providing a distraction? The amendment means there's no blank cheque, but that's not the same as saying no money at all, is it? Anyway, Lib Dem distraction aside, the next day it got announced that our water bills are going up by 7.5%. That is the biggest rise in nearly 20 years from April. Isn't it amazing how a 7.5% pay rise, for example, would enable Putin or drive inflation, according to these same Tories? But water companies just deciding to hike our bills by that doesn't elicit so much as a whimper from Westminster. We still have to find this money on increasingly overstretched personal budgets, though. How are many people going to pay this? And why the hell should we, when our waterways are dirtier than ever before? Now, there are some social tariffs for water in place, but that's a postcode lottery. Yet isn't it funny how these two pieces of news got released so close to each other? A hike like this requires government approval. Government approval when, since privatisation, these water companies have sucked up almost £72 billion in public funding, have left us with more expensive water, something none of us can live without, are hiking those prices to previously unseen levels, and have left our rivers and seas dirtier than they ever have been before. Last year, sewage was dumped in our water for a total of 2.7 million hours. Why should we pay more for water like that? It's difficult to think of a bigger, more blatant example of the failure of privatisation than with water. But here we are, and this is absolutely going to be an election issue going forward, as we're paying for it through the nose for them to keep dumping shit in our rivers, getting right up our noses. We're screwed financially, environmentally, ecologically, and especially governmentally, as pointless amendments get laid down, which the government gets around by allowing the water companies to hike their prices, rewarding them in effect for the 2 billion litres of sewage they dump every single day. It can't be ignored that another hit in the pocket, so we aren't spending as much on the high street, is yet another knock-on effect to the economy either, as the country enters recession too, hindering growth yet again. The Tories are absolutely catastrophic on every front when in power. And even when it comes to something as essential as water, they carry on regardless. This mugging by Tory government and privatised water companies has to stop, because we are being mugged here. Renationalise water now. Give it back to us. End the theft and end the pollution.